Chapter 1471. The sage monarch's tomb was located in the southeast of Wild City, thousands of miles away. For ordinary people, this place was rather far away. However, it was nothing to the powerhouses of the various forces in Wild City. After all, those who dared to explore the sage monarch's tomb had to have a certain level of strength. For those who were weak, even if the map was given to them, they might not dare to go. The group of people flew quickly and soon arrived at the entrance marked on the map of the sage monarch's tomb. This is the place. The Ouyang family head led the Ouyang family to a stop and landed in an open space in the wilderness. This place was not too far away from Wild City, and it was not too remote either. Many pioneers of Wild City might have passed by this place when they were entering or leaving the city. However, they never thought that there was a sage monarch's tomb hidden here. Rumble. As the Ouyang family head took out the map of the sage monarch's tomb, the sun instantly shone on the map. In an instant, countless rays of light converged and then refracted into a straight line. It passed through the group of people and landed on a huge rock not far away. The Ouyang family head walked over and raised his hand to press on the spot where the ray of light shone. In an instant there was a violent vibration. The place where everyone was standing rumbled and the entire ground moved to the side, revealing a huge, dark hole. The entrance to the sage monarch's tomb. Everyone looked at the black hole that had suddenly appeared, and their eyes burned with passion. The tomb of a Saint Realm powerhouse. They wondered how many treasures there would be inside. Let's go. The Ouyang family head took the lead and led his people in. The Hua family people followed closely behind. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she followed behind them with the family Hu people. The people from the other forces followed behind the three of them and walked inside. After all of them had entered, there was a rumbling sound and the huge, dark hole outside closed again. The group of people continued to walk inside. The tunnel leading to the underground was very long and the walls were not smooth. As the group walked in, a Saint Realm powerhouse suddenly said, "This tunnel was directly blasted open by someone's strength." Hearing this, everyone's faces were filled with shock. Was he blasted out by someone's power? They looked around and quickly realized that this was indeed the case. On the walls of the passageway, there were still traces of energy scouring. Moreover, it was done in one breath without any interruption. In other words, the person who blasted open this passage only used one move. All of them were thinking about this when the Saint Realm expert who spoke just now suddenly raised his palm and slammed it towards the stone wall. Bang! The stone wall didn't move in the slightest, but he was forced to take a few steps back. What? When everyone saw this scene, they were instantly stunned. Why was the wall so hard? Many people refused to believe it and immediately raised their hands to attack the stone wall beside them. However, none of them were able to leave a single mark on it. Only now did everyone realize how powerful the person who blasted open this passage was. The longer they walked down, the more shocked they became. Oh my God! Is this the strength of a Saint Realm master? Everyone was extremely excited. By now they had probably walked a distance of nearly 1,000 meters. Even a Saint Realm powerhouse couldn't leave a mark on the stone wall to create such a long passage. The strength of the person behind this was unimaginable. In this Saint King's tomb, other than that Saint King powerhouse, who else would leave a passage leading to the tomb? The group strode towards a tunnel in front of them. That passage was the latest route that appeared after the three maps of the Saint Monarch's tomb overlapped. The Ouyang family head and the others had no idea that the route on the map was wrong. He didn't even look back as he continued to walk forward. The head of the Hua clan and the others also used their sharp gazes to look at the place where Luo Qingtong and the others were, especially Luo Qingtong. They wished they could poke a few holes in her body. Yijio 9th Young Master. Chapter 1473. Since ancient times the strong have priority. Our Hua family and Ouyang family will go in first. You shouldn't have any objections, right? Of course, I think you probably don't have the right to have any objections. After all, your strength. Master Hua's gaze swept across Luo Qingtong and the family Hu people behind her. His face was full of contempt. He purposely ignored Yu Si Huang and the others to discuss Luo Qingtong and the others. Just based on Yi Jiao and the family who trashed behind her. If not for the support of Yu Si Huang and the people from the Dark Colors Arena, how could he and the others be so miserably defeated by her? This time the people from the Dark Colors Arena didn't come. With only Yu Si Huang and the people from the southern region, he wanted to see how she could withstand his and the Ouyang family's attacks. You. Hearing that Master Hua was scolding them, family Hu people's expressions changed. Even if someone wanted to retort, Luo Qingtong raised her hand to stop him. Master Hua is right. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she looked at Master Hua with a smile. The strong have priority. Then Master Hua, please go in quickly. Otherwise it won't be good if we go in late. After all, if Master Ouyang falls too far behind, your Hua family will suffer a great loss. Luo Qingtong's smile was evil. That evil smile inexplicably made Master Hua's heart skip a beat. He felt a sense of trepidation. I don't need you to remind me of this. Of course I know. Thinking that Luo Qingtong had given in, Master Hua's expression was arrogant. He sneered and swept a glance at Luo Qingtong and the others. Then, with a flick of his sleeve, he led the Hua family people and hurriedly walked in the direction of the passage. Although they had formed an alliance with the Ouyang family to deal with Luo Qingtong together. But the items in the tomb of the Sage King were obtained with their own abilities. He couldn't let the Ouyang family people be too far ahead of them. Damn it, it's all Yi Jiao's fault. If he wasn't so angry, why would he stay for so long to humiliate them? Once they obtained the treasures in the Saint King's tomb, they would have a good time. With this thought in mind, the Hua family's patriarch quickened his pace. Looking at their hurried departing figures, the smile on Luo Qingtong's lips curled even higher. She only hoped that the Hua family would like this surprise she had specially prepared for them. Young Master Patriarch Hua has gone too far. Why did you let him off so easily? The people from family who were confused. Except for Hu Zhongtian, Hu Fei and a few others who already knew about the real and fake map, everyone else looked at Luo Qingtong with a puzzled expression. He didn't know why the ninth young master, who had always been strong, would allow the Hua family head to mock and ridicule him. He didn't even retaliate. This wasn't young master's style. Ever since they started following Luo Qingtong, they had never seen her suffer a loss. Not to mention, he had taken the initiative to suffer losses and even agreed with Patriarch Hua's words. Young master, what's wrong with you? Everyone was confused, but Hu Zhongtian, Hu Fei and the others who knew the truth immediately laughed. Haha. Don't worry. Young master didn't suffer a loss. They all knew about the real and fake map, so naturally they knew that Luo Qingtong's words had a hidden meaning. Chapter 1474. If there was a priority, it should be them. Clan head Hua's words were basically scolding them. Yet he was unaware of it and had a smug and proud look on his face. Hu Zhongtian and the others couldn't help but laugh when they thought about it. Luo Qingtong smiled at the side but didn't say anything. After a while, when clan head Hua and the others had all entered the tunnel, she said to everyone, let's go too. The people from family Hu and the people from the southern mountain range were still confused and didn't know what Hu Zhongtian and the others were laughing about. When they saw Luo Qingtong turn around and walk into another tunnel, and it wasn't the tunnel that clan head Hua and Ouyang clan head went into, they finally understood. Young master you? The people from family Hu were pleasantly surprised. Even the people from the southern mountain range had a slight change in their expressions. At this point, if they still didn't know the truth, they would be a little stupid. The tunnel that Luo Qingtong walked into was the real safe tunnel in the Saint King's tomb, right? The tunnel that clan head Hua and Ouyang clan head took was fake. How did young master do it? Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong with unspeakable respect and admiration. Especially the people from the southern mountain range, they were both relieved and fearful. Fortunately, they followed Yusi Huang and stood on Luo Qingtong's side. Otherwise, they would have been played to death by the young man's scheming methods and abilities. Until now, they still didn't know how Luo Qingtong managed to make the people from the Hua and Ouyang clans enter the wrong tunnel. Wasn't there no problem when the three maps were overlapped? Could it be that she could tamper with the maps? But that was a map made by a Saint King. Moreover, the new route would only appear when the three maps were overlapped. If she tampered with one of the maps, wouldn't it be exposed when the three maps were overlapped? Unless Luo Qingtong could make changes to the map without changing the spiritual energy fluctuation and texture of the map itself. As everyone thought so, they looked at Luo Qingtong with even more reverence. The people of the southern mountain range, because of their relationship with Yusi Huang, reluctantly listened to Luo Qingtong. But now he was completely convinced. Luo Qingtong's trick was done in front of the Hua clan and Ouyang clan without anyone noticing. It was a piece of cake for her to kill them in the Saint Monarch's tomb. This was the first time that the people of the southern mountain range truly felt that strength did not necessarily mean everything. Sufficient scheming, ability means, coupled with the right time and place. It could completely negate the disparity in strength. Of course, absolute power was something that could not be broken through by any means. However, it was clear that they had not reached that level yet. Chapter 1475. After Qin Yin gave her the map of the Saint King's tomb and asked her to come to the far west wilderness, he fell into a deep sleep. Feng Yuan thought that he had just woken up and did not know that the map of the Saint King's tomb had been superimposed with the other two maps to form another map route. Although the three maps were not complete, at least the first two-thirds of the map route shown would not be a problem. However, before she could finish her sentence, the voice of the wisp of Qin Yin sounded again. Nothing is impossible. There's something wrong with this passage. I've already sensed it, you. Before he could finish his sentence, in an instant, rumble. A series of explosions could be heard coming from the front. An enormous storm of qi that seemed to want to wreak havoc on everything suddenly converged into a ball, roaring as it rolled over from the front. That terrifying and violent spiritual energy almost tore everything apart and filled the entire passage. Mechanism. It's a mechanism. This passage is wrong. Quick. Retreat. The people of the Ouyang clan in front were already panicking and kept running backward. Rumble. The huge spiritual energy ball rolled, and the spiritual energy it emitted was like a sharp sword. Wherever it passed, the Ouyang clan disciples who were slightly weaker were immediately pierced by the spiritual energy arrows. Finally, they were cut into pieces. Run! In the passage, the screams and panicked voices of the people of the Ouyang clan sounded, and the scene suddenly became chaotic. Holy Doctor, what's going on? The Ouyang clan master was in high spirits and led his people to the front. When he saw the treasure, he immediately showed his skills. However, he did not see the treasure, but such a mechanism was waiting for him. With a leap, he instantly appeared in front of Feng Yuan and asked in exasperation. The map in his hand came from Feng Yuan. When something happened, he naturally looked for him. However, the Ouyang clan master could not figure it out. The three maps were clearly superimposed to show the latest route. Logically, there should not be a problem. What was going on now? However, not to mention him, even Feng Yuan could not figure out how things turned out like this. There's a problem with the map route. Let's get out of here first. Seeing that the giant ball formed by the spiritual energy storm was flying towards him, Feng Yuan didn't have time to think too much. He turned around and rushed back. The Ouyang family head had no other choice. The group of people from the Ouyang family all flew back in a sorry state. Along the way, from time to time, some of the weaker disciples of the Ouyang clan would be caught up by the spiritual energy storm and die from being pierced by thousands of arrows. Screams rang out endlessly. Behind them, the Hua family head and the others had just entered the passage and were about to chase after the Ouyang family head and the others. However, at this moment, he heard a series of screams coming from the front, as well as the roar of the spirit energy storm raging. What's going on? The head of the Hua family was stunned for a moment before he immediately reacted. There's something wrong with this tunnel. Ouyang family head and the others had encountered a trap ahead. Quick. Let's go. He hurriedly turned around. However, at this moment, a rumbling sound suddenly came from the entrance of the passage they came from. Then a huge rock slowly descended from the top of the passageway. Seeing this scene, the Hua family head's eyes almost popped out. Dragon-breaking stone. Bastard. Yijio. It's all you're doing. Chapter 1476. When he turned around and didn't see Luo Qingtong and the others, Patriarch Hu knew something was wrong. Now that he saw the dragon-breaking stone falling from the sky, how could he not know what was going on? All of them had been fooled by Luo Qingtong. This passage wasn't a real safe passage at all. They and the Ouyang family were all fooled by Luo Qingtong. Although he didn't know how the other party did it, the Hua family's head already knew in his heart that the new map made up of three maps that he and the Ouyang family's head saw was probably all wrong. That route was completely useless. As Patriarch Hua's voice sounded, Feng Yuan and the others who were retreating with all their might heard his words, and their expressions changed instantly. This was Luo Qingtong's trick. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Feng Yuan gritted his teeth in anger. Patriarch Ouyang's veins popped out on his forehead as he shouted, Yi Jiao! Bastard! Don't let me go out. Otherwise, I'll make you wish you were dead. The other party had set a trap early on and just waited for them to step into it. Bastard! Bastard! Patriarch Ouyang was furious. At this moment, there was only enough space for one person to bend over and escape before the dragon-breaking stone fell. Patriarch Hua was the closest to it. He was also the most powerful in the Hua family. At this moment, looking at the dragon-snapping stone that was about to completely fall, he was so angry that he was about to explode. Yijio. Yijio. I want you to die. Patriarch Hua's eyes were ferocious. It was impossible to take everyone from the Hua family out. These people were destined to be left in this passage full of mechanisms and traps, and he didn't know how many of them would survive in the end. Yijio, you deserve to die. Bang. Patriarch Hua rushed out of the passage, and at the same time the dragon-breaking stone fell. No, Patriarch. Save us. The voices of the Hua clan were all blocked behind the dragon-breaking stone. However, that mournful voice seemed to resound in the ears of the Hua family head, causing his eyes to turn bloodshot. His entire face was distorted like a devil's. Yijio. He glanced around and saw Luo Qingtong standing not far from the passageway. The latter had just opened the dragon-breaking stone and was about to turn around and leave when he saw the Hua family head's figure rushing out. He immediately narrowed his eyes. She calculated the time to open the broken dragon stone. Logically speaking, Patriarch Hua and the others should have already gone far enough. They shouldn't have had time to rush out. What went wrong? Luo Qingtong's mind spun rapidly as she retreated rapidly at the same time. At the same time, the Hua clan's patriarch charged toward her. Boom. The aura around him exploded. In an instant, a vast and powerful aura burst out from his body. It stirred up the heaven and earth spirit chi in the square and formed a huge spirit chi vortex. The aura around him was vast and powerful. It surged like the sea and was extremely ferocious. The Sage Realm. The strength of the patriarch of a top family was so powerful. Back then, family who was extremely powerful but couldn't enter the top family because Hu Zhongtian's strength was only one step away from the Sage Realm. He only needed to break through and surpass the Sage Realm to enter the top family. Chapter 1477. He had been tricked by phone. Because of Yin Yang and Hu Fei's matter, he had been exhausted and unable to focus on breaking through. That was why he was delayed. At this moment, the Hua family head's aura spread out. Instantly, Yu Si Huang and the other experts who were above the saint stage sensed it. Not good. Young master. Sensing the vast and mighty aura coming from the square, the faces of Hu Zhongtian and the rest abruptly changed. They were waiting for Luo Qingtong in the correct passage. The young man said that she would come later. However, she did not come. They sensed a different and powerful aura coming from the square outside. Something had happened to her. Qingtong. Yu Si Huang's demonic aura suddenly changed. In an instant, it became as deep as the sea. His face was ice cold. His devilishly handsome face was now filled with killing intent and coldness. The aura of the king of the southern mountain range was fully displayed. The aura around his body suddenly fluctuated, and in the next second he rushed out of the tunnel before Hu Zhongtian and the others. You want to save her? Yu Si Huang, dream on. The whole family had sneered. When he had attacked Luo Qingtong, he had already noticed that Yu Si Huang and the others were not around. Clearly they had already entered the correct passageway. Yijio had caused the Hua family to fall into the wrong passage. This time the heavens were helping him. Without Yu Si Huang and the others, he wanted to see how she could block his attack. He wanted her to die in despair. Yu Si Huang and the others could forget about saving her. Sensing Yu Si Huang's aura rushing out of the passage, the Hua family head smiled maliciously. He suddenly raised his hand. An extremely fierce aura, carrying a power that could overturn mountains and seas, followed the direction of Yu Chong Huang and the others' auras and blasted towards the top of the correct passage. There was a ferocious beast totem carved on it. It was the mechanism of the dragon-breaking stone. When the Hua family head came out, he glanced around and found that the ferocious beast totem outside the passage they had entered had been activated. That must be the mechanism of the dragon-breaking stone. Yijio, closed the dragon-breaking stone and cut off all of our escape routes. Now, I'll let you have a taste of it. Let's see how you die in my hands. The Hua family head sneered with a ferocious expression. That attack, which was accompanied by a vast, unparalleled power, violently blasted the top ferocious beast totem into the stone wall. The mechanism was deeply triggered and lost control in an instant. Boom! The huge dragon-snapping stone fell from the top of the passage and closed the passage. And Yu Si Huang's current figure was less than a meter away from the entrance. Clear pupil. Seeing the dragon-breaking stone fall, Yu Si Huang's pupils suddenly shrank. Behind him, Hu Zhongtian and the others who were rushing over were also startled. Young master. Master. Chu Lingfeng, who was following closely behind Hu Zhongtian and the rest of the Saint Realm experts with his powerful physical strength, saw this scene and his eyes turned red. Mistress, she was still outside. He recklessly rushed to the front of the dragon-snapping stone and madly attacked it. Chapter 1478. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Continue to follow the route on the map. We'll meet at the end. That voice was very soft. It was obvious that Luo Qingtong used some special method to pass through the broken dragon stone. At the same time, outside, seeing that Yu Si Huang and the others were all trapped outside the broken dragon stone and isolated in the correct passage, Master Hua laughed wildly. Haha. Yijio. I'll see how you die this time. You should also have a taste of despair. As he spoke, he waved his sleeves fiercely. In an instant, a roar like the sea and a roar like the collapse of the mountains and the cracking of the earth came out from his sleeves. In an instant, a vast and aggressive attack swept towards Luo Qingtong violently. He wanted Luo Qingtong to die miserably in order to dispel the hatred in his heart. Yijio, prepare to die. As Master Hua's voice sounded, the terrifying huge spiritual energy attack that almost split the sky of the square blasted towards Luo Qingtong. You want to take my life? I'm afraid you're still a little lacking. After Luo Qingtong transmitted her voice to Yu Si Huang and the others, she focused her attention on Master Hua. At this moment, when she saw his violent attack coming towards her, she immediately focused her eyes. In an instant, she activated her pupil technique. Her figure was like a willow leaf in the wind. In an instant, she swept up and almost narrowly avoided Master Hua's attack. Then she stomped her feet. In the next second, she suddenly bent her waist and swept into a passage on the side. There were 12 passages in the square. Even if Luo Qingtong went the wrong way, she was not afraid. To others, these erroneous passageways could lead to death. But for Luo Qingtong, it was a rare chance of survival. Bang! Master Hua's attack missed. In an instant, the whole square shook violently. But the ground was not damaged at all. Bastard! Seeing that Luo Qingtong actually avoided his attack, Master Hua's eyes became more and more bloodshot. What kind of monster was he? He was actually able to dodge his attack. One should know that even a Saint Realm expert would not be able to dodge his attack. Only those who had surpassed the Saint Realm would be able to avoid it. As for Luo Qingtong, let alone the Sage Realm, she hadn't even reached the Martial Spirit Realm. The strength of the Martial Ancestor Realm was extremely weak in the eyes of the Hua clan's patriarch. However, Luo Qingtong used this weak power to the extreme. Like a needle piercing through a thin film, it pierced through the weakest point of his attack, forcibly breaking through his aura and avoiding his attack. What the hell is going on? Since when was a Martial Ancestor Realm cultivator this powerful? This was completely illogical. The Hua clan's patriarch was so angry that his whole body trembled. His whole body shook violently, and he quickly chased after Luo Qingtong. He didn't believe it. Luo Qingtong could avoid it once, but could she avoid it a second time, a third time, or even a fourth time? Sooner or later he would be caught by him. Moreover, Luo Qingtong had swept into a wrong passage. Did she think that he wouldn't chase after her? What a joke. Even if the traps in there were to deal with him, they would deal with her first. He would see how she was unable to move an inch inside, and then look on in despair as he approached her step by step. Chapter 1479. But soon he couldn't laugh anymore. Rumble. As his figure plunged into the passageway, the hidden traps in all directions were suddenly activated at the same time. Countless attacks flew toward him like locusts and sharp swords. Seeing this scene, Patriarch Hua's eyes widened. This is impossible. What's going on? Why were these attacks specifically directed at him? Where was Yijio? Yijio was still in front of him. Why was she fine? And he didn't trigger these traps at all. Why were they suddenly attacking him? Patriarch Hua was about to go crazy when he saw this scene full of locusts. He couldn't understand what was going on. But he didn't know that Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes could see everything clearly in this passageway. She was naturally clear about those traps and secret passageways, leaving a little bit of power and waiting for Patriarch Hua to arrive to trigger them. It couldn't be easier. Patriarch Hua thought that he had forced her into a dead end, but he didn't know that without this passageway, facing him alone was the real dead end for Luo Qingtong. Now they were playing slowly. Luo Qingtong sneered. In fact, if not for the fact that she was afraid that some of the powerful attacks in this passageway would harm her, she would have triggered them immediately. Patriarch Hua would definitely not be able to return when he chased after her. But now she was going to use her power to destroy these powerful traps so that they couldn't be activated. This was to prevent Patriarch Hua from accidentally triggering them. She was really letting him off easy. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. Her figure plunged forward, leaving a trace of power in the traps along the way. Rumble. Behind her, the sound of explosions rang out violently. In just an instant, the area behind her was completely covered. Bastard. Patriarch Hua's figure was deeply trapped in those traps and almost couldn't move an inch. He was so angry that he wanted to go crazy. This Yijio had too many tricks up her sleeves and her abilities were too strange. He didn't know who she was. She actually had the ability to move unimpeded in this passageway filled with traps. How did he do it? The Hua family had originally thought that he would be able to see Luo Qingtong's incomparably desperate eyes when he chased after her. He would wait until the enemy was blocked by the activated mechanisms before he could approach and kill the enemy. Unexpectedly, the mechanism had been triggered. However, he was the only one who was stopped. The head of the Hua family was so angry that he immediately unleashed all his strength to withstand the violent attacks. He tore them apart layer by layer and chased after Luo Qingtong. Yijio, don't even think about running away. He gritted his teeth in anger as he stared fixedly at the frail and delicate figure of the youth in front of him. He would rather be injured than let the other party escape. Shua. Sensing the movement behind her, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Her figure flashed through the passageway, and with a swoosh she flashed into a left fork that appeared in front of her. At the same time, she raised her hand and released Little Pig from the 9-layered exquisite pagoda. Luo Qingtong's figure sprinted through the fork while activating the mechanisms along the way. She asked, "How's your strength recovering?" Chapter 1480. Luo Qingtong's eyes were ice cold. If Little Pig could use his power, she would immediately break the seal. She wanted to let Patriarch Hua see who was the unlucky one. It's done. However, there's a special barrier in this underground palace, so I can't reveal my true self here. Little Pig's expression was very gloomy. When he came out of the 9-layered exquisite pagoda, he discovered that Luo Qingtong was being chased by Patriarch Hua. Although he didn't know how she got separated from Yusi Huang and the others, Little Pig was still very excited. He finally had a chance to show off his invincible might. However, before he could finish his excitement, he discovered that this underground palace was enveloped by a special barrier. It prevented him from revealing his true self here. Barrier? Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. Her figure flitted past a corner of the passageway that appeared in front of her. She leaned against the wall of the passageway and stopped for a moment. She looked at Little Pig and asked, "Can you sense where its power is coming from?" "Yes." Little Pig nodded. Since it was able to sense the spirit power, it was naturally able to tell where it was coming from. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She sensed that Patriarch Hua's aura was getting closer and closer to the corner along with the traps. She immediately waved her hand. With a swoosh, she drew a spiritual energy map of the Saint Monarch's tomb in the air. "Where is it?" She looked at Little Pig and asked. "Here." Little Pig raised his chubby round and pink hoof and pointed at the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. "It's here?" Luo Qingtong looked at the place where the Little Pig's hoof was pointing at and raised her eyebrows. It was not because of anything else, but because this place was the red dot she saw on the light map on her jade ring. What a coincidence. A mysterious place barriers power. Luo Qingtong was a little curious about what was inside. "Let's go. Let's go." Luo Qingtong flicked away the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb and hugged Little Pig in her arms. In an instant, his entire body leapt up. His feet heavily stomped on the wall, and his entire body rushed forward at a high speed. Just as she was about to leap into the air with Little Pig in her arms, a powerful attack came crashing down on the spot where she was standing just a moment ago. Yijio. Patriarch Hua, who was battered by the traps, furiously chased after Yijio. The place where Luo Qingtong was just standing, the attack was launched by him. He must kill this bastard. The Hua family head was mad with anger. He stared at Luo Qingtong's figure and chased after her. He wanted to see how many traps Luo Qingtong could activate in these tunnels. When all the traps attacks were all destroyed, he wanted Zhou's death. She's to die a miserable death. While Patriarch Hua chased after Luo Qingtong in another tunnel, Feng Luan and the others were looking at the dragon snapping stone in front of them with ugly expressions. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Feng Luan couldn't remember how many times he had gritted his teeth and shouted this name in his heart. The other party was too hateful. Chapter 1481. Master, what should I do? She desperately screamed in her heart, afraid that she would really die here. No, she couldn't die. There were still many things she had to do. She had to wash away the humiliation that Luo Qingtong and evil Dr. Ghost Eye had inflicted on her. She had to become the most honorable woman in the world. She had to become the person of destiny that her master spoke of. She absolutely could not die. Master, save me. Shut up. Following Feng Luan's words, the The blue smoke's voice also impressively resounded in her heart. That wisp of green smoke was also very depressed and angry. It had originally chosen Feng Yuan because the color of her strange pupils was extremely high. In the future, it was extremely likely that she would be able to compete for the position of the person of destiny. In addition, her talent and strength were not weak, and her temperament was tough and ruthless enough. Thus, it wanted to train her. It thought that under its guidance, Feng Yuan would be able to quickly reach the peak of the Sky Spill continent and become the most powerful genius. But it didn't expect that evil Dr. Ghost Eye would appear and suppress it in every aspect. This would put it in an even more desperate situation. Not to mention Feng Yuan, even the blue smoke felt as if it had been slapped in the face. It had lost all face. It angrily shouted, "Open up your mind." Yes. Feng Yuan quickly responded and opened up her mind. With a schwa sound, her eyes glazed over for a moment. Then the look in her eyes changed, becoming abnormally cold and indifferent. It was as if she was looking down on all living beings as ants. Umph. The blue smoke coldly snorted. After taking control of Feng Yuan's body, it fiercely turned around and rushed towards the spiritual energy storm that was violently attacking from behind. Behind them, the Ouyang family head and the Ouyang family's powerhouses were busy resisting the attack of the spiritual energy storm. However, this passage was specially chosen for them by Luo Qingtong. Of the 12 passages, it was the most dangerous, had the most traps, and was also the most powerful. The attacks of the Ouyang family head and the others were all absorbed by the barrier outside the spiritual energy storm. Not only did it not damage the spiritual energy storm ball in the slightest, it even increased its power. Now, the bulging sphere had almost blocked the entire passage. There was no room for them to dodge. Seeing the huge spiritual energy storm getting closer and closer, Ouyang family head and the others felt despair in their hearts. "Bastard. Yijio. I won't let you go even if I become a ghost." Ouyang family head was so angry that his eyes bulged. The blue veins on his forehead bulged like earthworms. He looked as scary as a ghost. Right at this moment, Feng Yuan's figure appeared by his side. Scram. When Ouyang family head saw her, he instantly flew into a rage and directly slapped Feng Yuan. If it wasn't for him, how would they have inexplicably offended Yijio? What kind of plan was this? Now they couldn't even enter the sage monarch's tomb. They were going to die here. If the other party had been more tolerant back then, he wouldn't have made things difficult for Yijio before this. They wouldn't have ended up like this. The Ouyang family head flew into a rage. That slap carried the might of thunder. If it was the previous Feng Yuan, he would definitely be sent flying by this slap. He might even die on the spot. After all, the strength of the patriarchs of the top families was at the sage realm. The strength of the Ouyang family head was one of the best among them. He was already very close to the sage master realm. Chapter 1482. However, it was the green smoke that was controlling Feng Yuan's body at this moment. He looked coldly at the Ouyang family head's slap and raised his hand to block it. Bang! With a backhand move, he blasted the Ouyang family head 2 steps back. You? The Ouyang family head and the group of experts beside him all looked at Feng Yuan in shock. How did his strength suddenly become so powerful? The Ouyang family head and the others were shocked, but the green smoke did not care at all. He looked coldly at the huge spiritual energy storm ball rolling over and said coldly, "Let's attack together and destroy it." His strength had been severely damaged and he had been resting in Feng Yuan's body to recover. Even if he forced himself to come out now, there was no way he could completely break the barrier outside the spiritual energy storm. The Ouyang family head and the others came back to their senses when they heard this. No. The Ouyang family head's face was gloomy and he said coldly, "We just tried. Even if we attack with all our strength, the barrier will not budge." Feng Yuan's strength suddenly became very powerful. But even so, if they joined forces, they might not be able to break the barrier outside the spiritual energy storm. Judging from the strength they had just used, only the strength of a holy king and above, close to the strength of a venerable realm expert, could break the barrier of the spiritual energy storm, attack the core, and destroy the spiritual energy storm. On their side, even Feng Yuan, whose strength had suddenly skyrocketed, did not have the ability to do so. "I don't need it." The green smoke's voice was cold. In the next second he waved his hand fiercely. With a swoosh, screams sounded. The people of the Hua family who were originally blocking the entrance of the passage and crying were suddenly pulled over. In the next second they were thrown toward the spiritual energy storm. Explode. As the voice of the green smoke sounded, The bodies of all the Hua family members who had been thrown into the spiritual energy storm ball instantly swelled up violently and then exploded. Bang bang bang. No one knew what the green smoke did in their bodies, but the power of the combined explosion of the Hua clan's disciples was so great that the barrier outside the spirit energy storm shook violently. Attack. As the cold voice of the green smoke rang out, the Ouyang family head and the rest of the people who were stunned instantly came back to their senses and hurriedly attacked the huge spiritual energy storm ball. Because Qing Yan's next words were, "If you can't break this spiritual energy storm ball, then continue." The rest of the Hua clan's people were all trembling. They quickly followed the Ouyang clan's people and attacked the huge spiritual energy storm ball crazily. They were afraid that if they couldn't break the barrier of the spiritual energy storm ball, they would end up like those people in front of them. The crowd attacked madly. Rumble. Under their attacks, the speed of the spiritual energy storm ball slowed down. The light of the barrier outside was also gradually weakening. Bang bang bang. The green smoke's eyes were cold. Without hesitation, he pulled up another group of Hua clan's disciples and threw them toward the spiritual energy storm ball. This time the light of the barrier finally dimmed. Bang. Chapter 1483. Let's go. The green smoke's voice was cold. He pulled his hand out of the huge spiritual energy storm ball and dispersed the spiritual energy in it. Then he led everyone into the depths of the tunnel. Every time he reached a place, he threw the surviving members of the Hua family to the front and allowed them to detonate the traps and clear the path ahead. His cruel and ruthless methods made the people of the Ouyang family shudder with fear. Even the Ouyang family head and other strong people of the Ouyang family couldn't help but shudder when they saw his methods. The other party's methods were a little too ruthless. However, in the current situation, this was indeed the fastest and safest way to get through this wrong tunnel. These people of the Hua family shouldn't blame them. If they wanted to blame someone, blame Yijio. She was the one who caused them to die here. It had nothing to do with them. When you see the Hua family head, you know what to say, right? The Ouyang family head looked at the people of the Ouyang family beside him and asked. Yes. The people of the Ouyang family nodded. It was Yijio's plan that caused the deaths of the Hua family. Our Ouyang family also suffered heavy losses and couldn't save them. The people of the Ouyang family naturally knew the intention of the Ouyang family head's question. They definitely couldn't let the Hua family head know that they used the Hua family to scout the way to their deaths. The best way was to put all the blame on Luo Qingtong. Anyway, it was indeed because of her that they were trapped in this wrong tunnel. It wouldn't be wrong to say that she caused the deaths of the Hua family. Good. Very good. The Ouyang family head smiled sinisterly. Yijio. Just you wait. When I get out of here, I will make sure you die a horrible death. While the Ouyang family head was venting his anger, Luo Qingtong had already led the Hua family head to a place not far from the red dot. This is the place? Luo Qingtong looked at the straight tunnel in front of her. At the end of the passageway was a tightly shut bronze door. The dark mottled door looked very old. A faintly discernible aura of the vast expanse emanated from it. This was the location of the red dot marked on the jade ring. At the same time, Little Pig sensed the source of the special spirit formation that enveloped the tomb. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes swept around. Her eyes reflected the three-dimensional shape of the straight passage. As far as his visual technique could see, he did not see any formations or mechanisms. This passageway, which was about 100 meters long, was empty. It was unlike the passageways that Luo Qingtong had passed through before, which had hidden mechanisms. This passageway was unusually clean. Statues of ferocious beasts stood all around, squatting on both sides of the passage. The statues of the ferocious beasts were about the height of a person. Their faces were ferocious and ferocious. They were placed all the way to the entrance of the bronze gate. It looked like they were guarding something. It was a magnificent sight. But there wasn't a single hidden passage. Luo Qingtong looked at this incomparably clean passageway, then looked at the end of the passageway where there was no other path except for a large door. Her brows slightly furrowed. Without any mechanisms, what would the Hua family head behind her do? There was no obstruction in this 100-meter passageway. It was enough for him to catch up to her. And there was no other path at the end of the passageway. Luo Qingtong's brows were tightly knitted. Chapter 1484. Suddenly there was a violent commotion behind her. Haha. Yijio, you can't escape, right? Family head Hua appeared at the end of the tunnel behind Luo Qingtong with a ferocious expression. He saw that there was only one path in front of Luo Qingtong. And after that path there was only one door. There was no other path. He immediately started laughing maniacally. His expression was extremely ferocious. He endured the attacks from the traps and rushed toward Luo Qingtong like a wild beast. He wanted Luo Qingtong dead. Sensing the commotion behind her, Luo Qingtong's brows furrowed even tighter. At this moment, her eyes suddenly narrowed. She fixed her gaze on the ferocious beast statues. These statues, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed slightly. Just as she was about to take a closer look, Little Pig's voice rang in her mind at this moment. Charge. Hearing Little Pig's words, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. She didn't ask anything and directly dashed forward. Rumble. As Luo Qingtong dashed forward, Family Head Hua's figure also appeared not far behind her. He directly launched an attack at her. It just so happened that it brushed past Luo Qingtong. Bang. The attack fiercely smashed into the wall behind Luo Qingtong, shaking the entire tunnel. In the next second, Family Head Hua's figure caught up. Yijio. Don't run if you dare. His voice was thunderous as he chased after the young man who was flying in front of him. There was no path ahead. Luo Qingtong was seeking her own death. Let's see where she can run to now. When I catch her, I'll definitely skin her alive to vent the hatred in my heart. Luo Qingtong's figure flashed rapidly. Almost at the instant Family Head Hua launched his attack, she had already dashed forward several meters. But Family Head Hua's figure was also very fast. Without the obstruction of the secret passageway, he instantly accelerated after dashing into the tunnel. His saint-level strength allowed him to catch up to Luo Qingtong in an instant. Bastard. Let's see how you'll die. Family Head Hua's expression was sinister as he looked at the youth's figure that was almost within reach. He raised his hand and raised one of his palms. The surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth rumbled violently and gathered above his palm. Boundless violent and vast energy surrounded his palm, constantly pulsing and surging. The energy within it was extremely vigorous and powerful. With the Hua family head strength, there was no way forward, and there were no obstacles in the way. The power of his palm was enough to block the entire passage. At that time, Luo Qingtong would no longer be able to escape. And Luo Qingtong's figure was half a distance and Luo Qingtong's was Hua. It was absolutely impossible in a short time. As Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, Little Pig's voice also sounded anxiously. Okay. 4 symbols of heaven and earth, universe black and yellow. Little Pig meditated seriously in Luo Qingtong's arms. One of Little Pig's 2 front hooves was facing up, the other was facing down. Then, he suddenly formed an extremely complicated and mysterious mark in front of Little Pig's chubby round belly. In the name of the supreme of all beasts, your souls rise. Chapter 1485. Following Little Pig's voice in an instant, boom, 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 boom. Around Luo Qingtong and the Hua family's patriarch, the rows of ferocious beast statues that were squatting on both sides of the passageway cracked open. The layers of soil on their bodies receded, revealing their true forms. It turned out that these statues were all real ferocious beasts. However, it was sealed here by a special power and turned into a statue. Now that they were awakened by Little Pig, they immediately came back to life. Roar! Those ferocious beasts suddenly roared toward the sky, their roars shaking the heavens. Naturally, the ferocious beasts that were captured and sealed here were not weak. These ferocious beasts were all at the saint rank. As soon as they woke up, they immediately pounced toward Luo Qingtong and the others. To be precise, they pounced toward the Hua family's patriarch behind her. What? The Hua family's patriarch was shocked when he saw these ferocious beast statues that suddenly woke up and felt the vast power coming from them. What's going on? How did these ferocious beast statues wake up so quickly? He didn't have time to think too much and directly sent a palm strike toward a saint-rank ferocious beast that was pouncing toward him. Bang! The saint-rank ferocious beast was sent flying by the powerful force contained in his palm. However, even more ferocious beasts arrived in front of him. There were no less than 100 ferocious beast statues in this passageway. Under Little Pig's command, they all rushed toward the Hua family's patriarch. Boom! Boom! The Hua family's patriarch's figure was instantly blocked by a pile of ferocious beasts. At the same time, Little Pig hurriedly urged Luo Qingtong, "Quick! Let's go through that bronze door." He used the supreme pressure in his soul to awaken these sealed ferocious beasts. However, the truth was that those ferocious beasts were all sealed there to guard the bronze gate. Why were there no traps in this passageway? It was because these ferocious beast statues were guarding it. Little Pig temporarily summoned the souls of these ferocious beasts and made them listen to his commands. However, most of his power was sealed, so he could only use a little of it. These ferocious beasts could only listen to it for a limited time. Luo Qingtong had to enter the bronze gate as soon as possible. This was to prevent the souls of these ferocious beasts from once again obeying the power of the seal after leaving. At that time, Luo Qingtong would also suffer together with Patriarch Hua. Got it? Luo Qingtong had already noticed the strangeness of these ferocious beast statues. Therefore, when Little Pig told her to charge forward, she didn't have any doubts or hesitation. As soon as Little Pig finished speaking, she had already dashed to the bronze door, pulled it open and rushed in. Buzz. Chapter 1486. Luo Qingtong's gaze landed on a gigantic purple gold coffin that took up almost a third of the room. The lid of the gigantic bronze coffin was not closed, revealing a corpse inside. It was a middle-aged man. He wore a dark green robe, and his body rippled with an extremely formidable and fierce aura that was practically on the verge of splitting the sky apart. If it was anyone else who entered this place, they might not have felt anything. However, Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes saw that the purple gold coffin was surrounded by crisscrossing spirit qi. All of it was emitted from the purple gold coffin. The corpse was lifelike. If not for Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes confirming that he was indeed not breathing, she would have thought that it was a person sleeping inside. The Saint King's golden coffin. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly as she looked at the corpse lying in the purple gold coffin. Needless to say, this middle-aged man was the owner of this Saint King's tomb, a Saint Realm Saint King powerhouse. I didn't expect this to be the burial place of this Saint King powerhouse. Luo Qingtong previously thought that this was some mysterious place. It was also strange. Why would this Saint King powerhouse make a light projection map of his burial place and hide it in that jade thumb ring and let others know? Wasn't this a taboo for ordinary powerhouses? Every tomb of a powerhouse was filled with layers of mechanisms and traps. The bone burial ground was a place that was carefully hidden for fear that someone would disturb their slumber. This Saint King powerhouse's hobby was quite unique. He deliberately told others about his burial place so that others could come and pay their respects. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. Her gaze circled around the purple gold coffin and was about to move away to look at other places. She did not forget that she had rushed in to find the location of that spirit power. The Hua family head was still outside the door. Little Pig said that he would not be able to block him for long. However, just as Luo Qingtong's gaze was about to move away, the purple gold coffin seemed to have sensed her entry and lit up with a hum. Then, a faintly discernible figure suddenly rose from the purple gold coffin, carrying a boundless golden light. After waiting for 1,000 years, you're finally here? My successor. As the golden light dissipated, the faintly discernible figure also appeared in front of Luo Qingtong, causing her to squint her eyes. Not for anything else, but the face of this figure was the face of the middle-aged man inside the purple gold coffin. The Saint King's soul? No, I'm just a strand of his soul. That faintly discernible figure floated above the purple gold coffin, looking down at Luo Qingtong. Are you the successor I've been waiting for? After waiting for 1,000 years, someone finally succeeded. Successor, come on up. Since you're able to pass through all the obstacles and reach here as a martial ancestor, you're qualified to inherit my strength and cultivation. Although my strength has been greatly weakened after 1,000 years, the remaining strength is enough to raise your strength and cultivation to the Saint Realm. Come on up. My successor will inherit my life's glory and my legacy. I will continue to spread my glory and glory. Chapter 1487. In the blink of an eye, traces of the crisscrossing spiritual qi around the huge purple gold coffin were immediately revealed. Then it retreated to the sides, revealing a passage that led straight to the giant purple gold coffin. Inheritance. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. She looked at the figure floating above the purple gold coffin, and the corners of her lips suddenly curled up. There was an indescribable meaning in her smile. Okay. She nodded at the figure and said, "Then I thank you for your selflessness. What do I need to do?" As she spoke, she walked all the way to the giant purple gold coffin. Looking at it up close, the corpse looked even more lifelike, as if it could open its eyes and wake up at any time. 1,000-year-old corpse, immortal and undecayed. All the strength condensed into one body. Was this the power of a Saint King? Was this the power of a Saint Realm expert? Then, how powerful would the Supremacy Realm and Supremacy Realm experts be? For some reason, Luo Qingtong inexplicably thought of Yi Qianxian. That man had the heavenly vein body. She did not know how powerful his true strength was. However, Luo Qingtong had a vague feeling that the other party's strength was above the monarch realm. She did not know what level of strength he was at. She still had a long way to go. But it did not matter. Being reborn was only interesting like this, wasn't it? It was rare for her to meet such a man in such a world that she could not reach. The battle intent in her heart was very excited. One day she would stand at the top of the world's strength, reach out to that man and tell him that he was hers. Luo Qingtong's lips curled slightly, then she looked up at the figure floating above the giant purple gold coffin. The latter's face was faintly excited. You just need to pick up the glazed lamp that my corpse is holding. As he spoke, he raised his finger and pointed at the giant purple gold coffin below him. All of my strength has been sealed in this lamp in order to reduce the consumption of my strength as much as possible, waiting for an inheritor like you to appear. As long as you pick up this glazed lamp, all of my experience, power and comprehension will be transferred to you. At that time, you'll be able to become a Saint Stage expert. Moreover, the power I possess will allow you to advance from the Saint Stage to the Saint King Stage without any bottlenecks in the future. Come on up, my successor. Obtain my power. One step, ascending to heaven. That figure's voice was filled with arrogance. Luo Qingtong's eyes swept over, following his words to look inside the giant purple gold coffin. Sure enough, under the two sleeves of the corpse she saw a glass jade lamp. That glass jade lamp was covered by his sleeves, and it was shrouded by the power of a Saint King expert. If it were not for him, Luo Qingtong might not have discovered it. The color of this glass jade lamp was very beautiful. The whole body was made of glass, and the entire wick seemed to be transparent, flickering with a faint white light. The lamp shade outside was in the shape of a lotus. Against the white wick, this glass jade lamp seemed to be unusually holy and bright, as if it was shrouded in a layer of invisible light. This is it. Luo Qingtong looked at this glass jade lamp. Her eyes flashed slightly and she raised her hand to pick it up. Chapter 1488. Haha. Following Luo Qingtong's actions, the figure floating above the purple gold coffin laughed heartily. Congratulations. My successor will be able to obtain all of my power. However, at this moment, his voice suddenly became sharp and ruthless. Give me your body. Ah. Following his loud laughter, an extremely powerful force suddenly erupted from the corpse lying in the purple gold coffin and blasted directly into Luo Qingtong's body. Waves of tyrannical force washed over Luo Qingtong's body like a river bursting through a dam, rapidly expanding and filling her dantian and meridians. Under such circumstances, Luo Qingtong's strength continued to soar. Even after thousands of years, the remaining power of a Saint King realm expert was enough to cleanse and upgrade Luo Qingtong's meridians to the extreme. Boom boom boom. As the aura in Luo Qingtong's body soared. In her mind, a strand of soul power suddenly rushed into her. In an instant, it swept through every corner of her mind. Ah! My 1,000 years of waiting were not in vain. This body is actually the supreme mixed yuan body. It can accommodate thousands of powers and is compatible with all. Ah! That wave of soul power laughed heartily. It was the figure floating above the purple gold coffin. At this moment, as Luo Qingtong picked up the glazed jade lamp, the power and soul sealed in the corpse all blasted into Luo Qingtong's body. He had been sealed here for 1,000 years and had marked this place on the light map of the jade ring so that someone could come here and remove his seal, allowing his soul to possess another body and be reborn. What surprised this Saint King's soul was that Luo Qingtong's aptitude was much more monstrous than he had imagined. The mixed yuan body contained everything. In her hands, any kind of power could be fused into one, and she could use it freely without any restrictions. This was a supreme saint body. He had only heard of this holy king's soul in ancient books. When he saw that Luo Qingtong's body had absorbed all of his power, he would have lost at least half of his power. However, in Luo Qingtong's supreme immemorial body, his power was absorbed without any loss. Immediately, he was overjoyed and laughed wildly. I can't believe I've obtained such a supreme saint body. Ah! The heavens are really protecting me. Little baby, you can go in peace. Your body and constitution, I'll take them all. When you reach the peak in the future and seek the path of the heavens, your name will naturally spread throughout the world. At that time you will be able to die in peace. That figure's voice was unusually happy and excited. Almost instantly, it blasted into the core of Luo Qingtong's brain with irresistible force and forced its way towards her soul power. Boom! Boom! Boom. The spirit defense in Luo Qingtong's mind shattered layer by layer. The spirit power of a Saint King was extremely powerful. The power would slowly disappear with the loss of 1,000 years, but the spirit power would not. Chapter 1489. Now that his soul power had surged out, it was impossible for him to defeat a mere martial ancestor realm young girl. Even a Saint King realm elite might not be able to resist his soul attack. He would still be able to take over her body and be reborn. Haha. The Saint King's soul laughed loudly and his laughter became more and more arrogant. However, just as he was about to break through the last barrier in Luo Qingtong's mind and enter the depths of her brain to completely devour her soul, the young girl's voice slowly rang out. Is that so? Thank you for helping me increase my strength. However, I'll do it myself to reach the peak and ascend to the heavens. There's no need to trouble you. As Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, the Saint King's soul was instantly shocked. What? How can you still speak? Under his soul attack, the other party could barely protect herself. How could she speak so casually? Was she not afraid? He was about to break through her defense and devour her soul. She was not anxious at all? As the Saint King's soul thought about this, his brain instantly froze. However, he soon understood why Luo Qingtong was acting like this. Boom. As soon as Luo Qingtong finished speaking, she suddenly flipped her wrist and a ball of light flashing with white light appeared in her hand. The core of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood. As soon as the core of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood appeared, streams of soul guiding power were suddenly emitted from Luo Qingtong's hand. As soon as the Saint King's soul broke through Luo Qingtong's last soul defense, it was instantly pulled back by the soul guiding power. In an instant, it was far away from the core of Luo Qingtong's brain. What? The Saint King's soul's face was filled with indescribable shock. 1,000-year soul guiding wood. He could feel the streams of power pulling him back. His voice was so sharp that it almost broke through the sky. The 1,000-year soul guiding wood was capable of drawing in the power of souls, either devouring or transforming them. It was the nemesis of Yin souls. Fortunately, it was the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood. If it was a 1,000-year soul guiding tree, this Sage King's soul would have been immediately bound by its suction force and become its guardian spirit. The power of the tree heart and the power of the saint soul were barely able to resist it. Damn it. How could this young girl in the martial grandmaster realm have the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul guiding wood? The Saint King's soul was indescribably shocked. However, he did not know that Luo Qingtong would have already drawn out the life and death yin-yang sword, transformed it into the power of the death blade, and killed him if she did not want to draw him into her body. To Luo Qingtong, the power of this Saint King's soul was no threat to her. He wasn't even as much of a threat to her as the Hua clan's patriarch, who was at the Saint realm. However, at the mention of the Hua clan's patriarch, a loud bang rang out from the bronze door outside. The commotion outside was getting louder and louder, closer and closer. It was obvious that the Hua clan's patriarch was breaking through the obstruction of those ferocious beast statues and charging over. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Under the horrified gaze of the Saint King's soul, she suddenly clenched her fist. Heart of the 1,000-year-old soul guiding would absorb. Chapter 1490. In an instant, the soul energy of the Sage King's soul was absorbed by the 1,000-year soul guiding wood like flowing water. No. The Sage King's soul's expression was extremely horrified. His eyes were filled with extreme shock as he struggled with all his might, trying to break free from the suction of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood. He no longer cared about dealing with Luo Qingtong's soul energy. The latter had the 1,000-year soul guiding wood in her hands and could completely absorb his soul energy for her own use. As for the 1,000-year soul guiding wood, the more his soul energy was absorbed, the stronger the suction and pulling force would be. He would be completely turned into fertilizer and a source of energy by the 1,000-year soul guiding wood. The Sage King's soul thought as he frantically struggled. With his strength, as long as he didn't think of entering Luo Qingtong's body and desperately tried to leave, he still had a chance of success. After all, his soul energy was vigorous and the 1,000-year soul guiding wood could only absorb a portion of it. As long as he was willing to cut his losses and give up that portion of soul energy in Luo Qingtong's body, he could still escape. He would only lose a portion of his strength. However, what was this strength compared to his own life? The Sage King's soul didn't expect that his plan would fail. The martial ancestor realm girl that he chose actually had a treasure like the 1,000-year soul guiding wood, which was the nemesis of Yin souls. However, it didn't matter. When he left this body and broke free from the suction of the 1,000-year soul guiding he would definitely make her pay the price. She dared to absorb his soul energy and cause damage to his soul body. He wanted to suck the other party's flesh and soul dry. He wanted the other party to suffer a fate worse than death in his devouring and biting. The Sage King's soul fiercely gritted his teeth and desperately withdrew from Luo Qingtong's mind. Even the portion of soul energy absorbed by the 1,000-year soul guiding wasn't enough. His figure was like a wisp of green smoke as he withdrew from Luo Qingtong's body. He was about to completely withdraw from the girl's body. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's lazy voice rang out. "Lord Sage King, what's the hurry? Since you're here, why don't you be a guest before you leave? If you leave, what about my strength? Didn't you say you were going to give me all your strength, cultivation, and comprehension of your cultivation?" Luo Qingtong smiled. Wanton and insolent. The young girl's beauty was like a poppy flower at this moment, gorgeous and full of threat. It was also like the Tama of the 3 lifetimes, blooming on the other side of the shore. It was absolutely beautiful yet filled with the aura of death. The first was the blooming of flowers, the second was the death of the body. Without the disguise of being ordinary, Luo Qingtong's black clothes and long hair, the young man's evil and charm, was incisively and vividly displayed. "Didn't you want to pass it on to me? I'll take your strength and soul." As Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, the girl's slender and fair finger pointed in the air. With a swoosh, streaks of qi meandered in her hand like a painting, dancing like snakes. In an instant, it formed an inscription pattern in Luo Qingtong's hand. In the next second, Luo Qingtong raised her hand and clapped. With a bang, the inscription pattern instantly entered her body. Buzz. As the inscription pattern entered her body. Chapter 1491. It was as if it had been fixed in place by something. The next second, shwa shwa shwa. Rays of white light emitted from Luo Qingtong's body. The inscription pattern rapidly rotated within Luo Qingtong's body. Rays of white light emitted from it, forming a giant cage that completely covered the Saint King's soul and Luo Qingtong's body. Yo. The Saint King's soul looked at Luo Qingtong with horror. Luo Qingtong's previous methods and abilities had not been able to cause him to be so horrified. It was as if his entire heart had been set off by an incomparably massive storm. He looked at the inscription pattern that Luo Qingtong had drawn up with disbelief. Yo. This is an inscription pattern technique. You are an inscription master. The Saint King's soul was aghast to the extreme. He was not someone from the Sky Spill continent. Naturally, he would not be as ignorant as the people of the Sky Spill continent. Inscription master. This was an inscription master. Moreover, the inscription pattern that she had used was clearly something that only a high-level inscription master could use. Heavens, in such a remote continent like the Sky Spill continent, there was actually someone like an inscription master. Moreover, an inscription master that could use a high-level inscription pattern technique. Just how unbelievable was this? It had to be known that within the Star Alliance, there were only a few high-level inscription masters. Those were all lofty and aloof characters that looked down on everything. Their status was almost the same as the Alliance master. Even those middle-level inscription masters were people that all the major influences and masters of the continents wanted to curry favor with. This was because the status of an inscription master was simply too precious and too rare. It was not something that could be cultivated just because one wanted to. All the major influences treated them with extreme caution. Now, in the Sky Spill continent there was actually an inscription master? And a high-level inscription master. The Saint King's soul's eyes bulged as he looked at Luo Qingtong. If this news were to spread out, it would cause the people of the Outer Realms to go crazy. And how did such an inscription master grow up in such a low-level continent? There shouldn't be any resources here that she could use to advance her cultivation. The Holy King's soul looked at Luo Qingtong and was about to go crazy. If it wasn't for the fact that the power of the inscription pattern was genuine, he would have suspected that he had used too much of his soul power and was hallucinating. He looked at Luo Qingtong in shock, but the girl had already formed a seal with her hands and suddenly flipped them over. Withdraw. Suppress. As Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, the holy monarch soul that had floated out of Luo Qingtong's body was immediately pulled back by the soul-suppressing power emitted by the inscription pattern. The restraints from all sides firmly suppressed him within Luo Qingtong's body. His power continued to flow into Luo Qingtong's body. At the same time, the soul power was being absorbed by the heart of the 1,000-year-old ghost wood in Luo Qingtong's hand. I already said, Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. Her eyes flashed with a cold blood-red light. Since you've come, don't think of leaving. You want to steal my body? Don't you know that you can't steal my evil eyes things? Not to mention my body. So what if you're a Saint King powerhouse? If you were a real entity, she would have some scruples and avoid you. Chapter 1492. No. The Holy King's soul was once again pulled back into Luo Qingtong's body. Only now did he know what it meant by, "It's easy to invite a god but hard to send it away" meant. It was almost impossible for him to leave Luo Qingtong's body now. The inscription pattern that Luo Qingtong had drawn was the soul calming diagram. If she had used it at the beginning with the strength of the Holy King's soul, he would have been able to break free immediately. But now, a portion of his strength had been absorbed by the thousand-year soul guiding Wood's tree core. He was powerless to break free from the soul calming diagram's restraint. He screamed sharply as he was pulled back into Luo Qingtong's body by Luo Qingtong. At the same time, the power sealed in his corpse continuously flowed into Luo Qingtong's body, cleansing the girl's body and raising her level. What the Holy King's soul had said before was right. He had indeed prepared to pass on his skills to Luo Qingtong. He wanted to pass on all of his strength to her. After all, this was the body that he had chosen, wasn't it? After passing on his skills, the one who possessed all of this strength would be himself. However, he did not expect that Luo Qingtong was not the soft persimmon that he had thought she was, but a bloodthirsty and savage overlord. He had passed on his skills to her and wanted to seize her body, but he had been devoured by her instead. The strength in Luo Qingtong's body continued to soar. Low-level martial ancestor realm, middle-level martial ancestor realm, high-level martial ancestor realm, peak martial ancestor realm. With a bang, the aura in Luo Qingtong's body broke through the barrier of the martial ancestor realm and entered the martial spirit realm. At the same time, the thousand-year soul guiding Wood's tree core in her hand was also constantly absorbing the soul power of the Holy King's soul. The pure white color inside slowly turned black. It was the power transformed by the soul power of the Holy King's soul. The soul power of the Holy King's soul became weaker and weaker, and it was increasingly unable to break free from the soul calming diagram's restraint. Within Luo Qingtong's body, he screamed crazily as he scurried about, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break out of the cage formed by the soul calming diagram. Seeing that the soul power in his body was draining faster and faster, if this continued, he would completely become fertilizer for the thousand-year soul guiding Wood in Luo Qingtong's hands. At that time, possession and rebirth would be nothing more than a joke. With that thought in mind, the Holy King's soul could no longer care about anything else. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Explode!" Myriad phantoms rise. Following his loud shout, the crowd was stunned. In that instant, Luo Qingtong felt a sense of foreboding. Her figure abruptly leaped backwards, her sleeves fluttering in the wind like a butterfly. The moment she leaped into the air, the purple gold coffin in front of her suddenly exploded. The Saint King's corpse exploded into dust in that instant. The power in his body overflowed and entered the fragments of the purple gold coffin. In that instant, countless phantoms suddenly rose from the fragments of the purple gold coffin. Baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, they attacked Luo Qingtong with a sharp howl. It turned out that the purple gold coffin contained the power of countless souls. Now that they had obtained the power of the Holy King's corpse, they turned into phantoms and attacked Luo Qingtong sharply. When the Holy King's soul saw those phantoms rushing out, his heart ached. These phantoms were a great help that he was prepared to use when he was reborn in the future. Chapter 1493. Damn it. Once he broke free from this soul-suppressing cage, he would definitely eat her flesh and blood alive. Devour her soul. The Holy King's soul was filled with hostility. He ordered those ghost shadows to charge crazily at Luo Qingtong. He wanted to use these ghost shadows to wear down the power of the soul-suppressing diagram in Luo Qingtong's body. Once the power of the soul-suppressing diagram was exhausted, the suction force of the thousand-year-old soul guiding would be greatly reduced. Then he would be able to escape from Luo Qingtong's body in one fell swoop. At that time he would eat her alive. Those ghost shadows shrieked as they attacked. Luo Qingtong frowned as she looked at herself. What a pity, just a little bit more. She lowered her head and looked at the aura that was spreading out from her body. Peak of the martial spirit realm. If the Holy King's soul had taken a little longer to explode the purple gold coffin, she would have been able to break through to the sage realm. Such an opportunity was once in a lifetime. After all, not every expert above the sage realm could pass on their cultivation to others like this. Not to mention helping others break through to the sage realm. That was an ability that only experts who had completely fused all their sage realm insights could have. And after passing on their cultivation, the other party would immediately die. Basically, if it wasn't a close relative who was facing the danger of death, no one would do such a thing. Luo Qingtong was because this holy king expert wanted to possess her body and be reborn. That was why he had passed all his insights and strength into her body. There might not be a next time for such an opportunity. Forget it, the peak of the martial spirit realm is not bad. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. The strength of the holy king realm was incomparably powerful. When it entered her body, it forcefully raised her strength to the peak of the martial spirit realm. If that was all, it wouldn't be strange. There were many ways to forcefully raise one's strength, but the drawbacks of this method were very obvious. That was, the foundation of one's strength was not stable. It was like building a tall building. Although it was slow, it was sturdy and stable. The higher it was built, the faster it would be built. If you use sand to build a house, it would seem that it was built quickly. In a short while, it would become a skyscraper. But with a gentle gust of wind and rain, your building might collapse. Such an increase in strength was like a castle in the air, impressive but useless. And the higher one went, the easier it was to collapse. However, the power that Luo Qingtong obtained from this Saint King expert was different. This was because she had obtained all of the Saint King's comprehension of power along with the power. There were no drawbacks at all when one's realm and strength rose together. Her strength at the peak of the martial spirit realm was extremely stable. Luo Qingtong's lips curled higher and higher as she thought about it. This trip to the Sage King's tomb was really worth it. The strength of the peak of the martial spirit realm was enough for her to return to the academy and participate in the grand event. Screech. While Luo Qingtong was lost in thought, the howling ghostly figures had already arrived before her. They opened their bloody mouths and bit down viciously on Luo Qingtong's body. They wanted to use their ghostly bodies to break the shackles of the soul calming diagram in Luo Qingtong's body and release the power of the Saint King's soul. Humph. Seeing those ghostly shadows rushing over with their bloody mouths wide open, they were like a swarm of locusts, blotting out the sky and covering the earth as they flew towards him. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. With a flip of her hand, she was about to summon the life and death duality sword. Chapter 1494. Her eyebrows twitched. This is... Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed when she sensed the movement. She seemed to have thought of something. Her lips curled up as she flipped her wrist and withdrew the power of the life and death yin-yang sword that she was about to summon. She crossed her arms in front of her chest and calmly watched the ghostly shadows whizzing toward her. Her expression was neither hurried nor slow. What's going on? Why is she suddenly not in a hurry? The Holy King's soul was startled when he saw this scene. However, he didn't think too much about it. It was naturally best if she didn't resist. As long as he could break the soul-calming diagram that was sealed in his body, he would kill her. At that time, it would be useless even if she had thousands of tricks up her sleeve. Absolute power represented absolute suppression. He would rather give up the chance to possess her body and torture her to death. As the Holy King's soul thought this, the face that he conjured was filled with a cold and murderous expression. Little Pig was also stunned when he saw Luo Qingtong's actions. What the hell is this woman doing? Why didn't she summon the life and death yin-yang sword? The soul-calming diagram was suppressing the Holy King's soul and the thousand-year soul guiding tree's heart was absorbing its power. She couldn't free herself to deal with these ghostly shadows. If they broke the seal of the soul-calming diagram and let the Holy King's soul escape, it would be troublesome. At that time, without the restraint of the Holy King's soul in Luo Qingtong's body, Luo Qingtong's current strength would be no match for the Holy King's soul. Little Pig was anxious and wanted to ask Luo Qingtong what was going on. He didn't believe that the girl was being reckless. He had followed Luo Qingtong for so long. The latter was never the kind of person who was blindly arrogant because of her strength. But what was going on with her now? If she didn't use the power of the life and death yin-yang sword, what other trump cards did Luo Qingtong have to deal with these ghostly shadows? After all, they had obtained the remaining power of the Sage King's corpse. Other than the power of the death blade transformed from the life and death sword in Luo Qingtong's body, what else could deal with them? While Little Pig was still puzzled, a ghostly figure that was the first to arrive in front of Luo Qingtong had already viciously bit down on her waist. Following its sharp whistle, countless ghosts followed behind it, biting at Luo Qingtong's body. seeing that Luo Qingtong's figure was about to be buried by this dense mass of ghosts. Boom boom boom. There was a surge of energy between her brows. In an instant, countless rays of white light appeared from the void behind Luo Qingtong and surrounded the ghostly figures that were charging towards her. What? The eyes of the Holy King's soul instantly widened at the sight of this. What is this? He looked at the rays of white light that extended from the void behind Luo Qingtong. They were actually long tails that danced wildly behind Luo Qingtong. Waves of soul-sucking power were emitted from the tails. All of the ghostly figures that were entangled by the white light were all turned into flickering shadows amidst a series of miserable screams. Their strength was completely absorbed by the long tails of white light. Chapter 1495. This is? The Holy King's soul looked at this scene in shock. White fur like snow, sharp golden eyes, and a feeling of nobility and power overflowing from its entire body. Soul-devouring beast. And it was the highest level of them all. It could even suppress and seal the divine soul of a top god beast. Legend said that when this kind of soul-devouring beast matured to the peak, it could suppress the souls of all beasts. Among the soul-devouring beasts, it was an extremely rare breed. Only a powerhouse with strength that could suppress the heavens could obtain it. This soul-devouring beast was obviously still in its infancy. But even so, it shouldn't be something that a little martial ancestor realm girl could obtain. After Luo Qingtong displayed the high-level inscription technique, the Holy King's soul went crazy again. What was the other party's background and identity? Why did he have such a powerful inscription technique and also such a heaven-defying god beast? These two things, no matter which one was taken out, were enough to shock those outside of the Sky Spill continent. Could it be that the other party was a proud son of heaven from a great power that had concealed his identity and came here to gain experience? Or was he from a super great power? While the Holy King's soul was going crazy, the snowball behind Luo Qingtong had already swallowed and absorbed all the attacking ghost shadows. It was originally in the transformation period of its growth period. Because it didn't have enough strength, it couldn't awaken. Now, the soul power of these ghost shadows had provided it with the power to transform and awaken. Subconsciously, its body that Luo Qingtong had placed in the 9-layer exquisite pagoda began to move restlessly. It was because it felt Snowball's restlessness that Luo Qingtong gave up on using the life and death yin-yang sword and allowed the ghost shadows to rush over. Now, these ghost shadows that had absorbed the power of the Holy King's body had all become food in Snowball's stomach, the source of its transformation. After swallowing these ghost shadows, Snowball's body seemed to be covered in a layer of pale golden light. As this light became brighter and brighter, something seemed to be trying its best to escape from its tailbone. In the next second, Snowball let out a sharp and high-pitched cry. With a swish, a long tail suddenly shot out from its tailbone and waved in the air with another substantial tail. Streaks of white light appeared one after another. Transformation growth period. The power of two tails. Looking at the snowball that appeared behind Luo Qingtong, Little Pig muttered in his heart, "It's Snowball." No wonder that woman didn't use the life and death yin-yang sword. Soul-devouring beasts were the mortal enemies of the world's soul. Not to mention that Little White was not an ordinary soul-devouring beast. Even he was suppressed by its clan. Not to mention the other souls. Those ghostly shadows in front of it were simply not enough to look at. However, the Saint King's soul seemed to have recognized Whitey's true identity. Little Pig's eyes flashed with an extremely cold and murderous glint. His identity could not be exposed for the time being. This Holy King's soul absolutely could not be left behind. Otherwise, Little White would be able to see through his identity. While Little Pig was filled with killing intent, Snowball had finished its transformation. The light around its body receded and it suddenly became half the height of a human. It appeared in front of Luo Qingtong and stared covetously at the Holy King's soul sealed within the girl's body. "No, don't kill me. Let me tell you a secret." Chapter 1496. The Sage King's soul was imprisoned in Luo Qingtong's body and had nowhere else to go. His soul force was constantly being absorbed by the 1,000-year soul guiding wood in Luo Qingtong's hand. Those ghostly shadows had all been swallowed up by the snowball. Under such circumstances, he couldn't escape from the soul calming diagram seal in Luo Qingtong's body. He could only be completely sucked dry by the 1,000-year soul guiding wood. He had no choice but to give in. Secret. Luo Qingtong's heart stirred slightly. She inexplicably remembered the purpose of the people from the celestial palace coming to the Sage King's tomb. The secret of the land of the fallen immortals? She raised her eyebrows and looked at the Sage King's soul. Yes, you know? The Sage King's soul was slightly startled. Then he became even more confident. Since you know, then you should also know how great the benefits of obtaining that thing are. The reason why the land of the fallen immortals became the land of the fallen immortals is because of that thing. If it weren't for the people who obtained the news of that thing and deliberately hid it, this small sky-spill continent would have already been flattened by the foreign powerhouses. The reason why it's so peaceful now is because those people from back then are almost all dead. No one knows of the existence of that thing anymore. And I know where that thing is, and I have drawn a map. The Sage King's soul looked at Luo Qingtong with burning eyes and said, "If you let me go, I will tell you the location of that map. You should know that that thing is something that even the Star Alliance's leader wants. Now that no one knows of its existence, you can get it. And I can swear allegiance to you. You won't have to worry about me betraying or deceiving you. How about it?" The Sage King's soul's eyes flickered slightly, and then he looked at Luo Qingtong. The latter's expression was indifferent. "Since you're saying this, I don't have anything to refuse?" The other party's offer was extremely generous, as if he was willing to give up everything in order to survive, even swearing allegiance. How could Luo Qingtong refuse? They could obtain a treasure map of the land of the fallen immortals and the loyalty of a Saint King realm soul body. No matter how one looked at it, this was a good deal. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. "Good. So that means you've agreed?" The Saint King's soul was overjoyed. A light flashed in his eyes, and then he hurriedly said to Luo Qingtong, "Then I'll immediately swear allegiance to you. Let me go and I'll take you to get that map." "Okay." Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. "Swear it?" When the Holy King's soul heard this, he hurriedly swore to the heavens, "I am willing to pledge my loyalty to the young lady in front of me. I will never betray her. If I betray her, I will be destroyed by the heavens and my soul will be destroyed." As he spoke, he looked at Luo Qingtong and urged, "Mistress, it's done. Let me go. I'll take you to get that map." He couldn't wait to get it. "Okay." Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She narrowed her eyes, raised her hand, and released the seal of the soul calming diagram in her body. "Ah, I'm finally out." The Sage King's soul rushed out of Luo Qingtong's body, and then transformed into a figure in the air, laughing loudly. "Okay, let's go," Luo Qingtong said indifferently. Chapter 1497. The Holy King's soul turned to look at Luo Qingtong. The smile on his face instantly turned cold. "Leave? Ahaha." His expression was ferocious. "Where are you going?" "Ah." His laughter was indescribably arrogant and cold. "Do you think that I'm really loyal to you just because I swore an oath to you? Idiot. Ha ha ha." He looked up to the sky and laughed. "The heavenly Tao here can't sense the oath at all. The oaths I swore just now are invalid. So, are you ready to die now?" The Holy King's soul said as he gave Luo Qingtong a sinister smile full of murderous intent. After breaking free from the shackles in Luo Qingtong's body, the 1,000-year soul guiding wood in Luo Qingtong's hands was useless to him. As for the soul-devouring beast, it was indeed the nemesis of souls. But it had just entered the growth stage and was temporarily unable to stop him. As long as he sacrificed a little power, he would be able to kill the girl in front of him. She was dead for sure. The Holy King's soul laughed wildly. Luo Qingtong suddenly frowned and looked at him with a vexed expression. "So, the secret about the land of the deceased immortals that you said just now was also false? You don't have the map at all?" Luo Qingtong looked at the Holy King's soul angrily. "Ah, wrong. That's true." The Holy King's soul looked at Luo Qingtong proudly. "I do have that map." He was very happy to enjoy Luo Qingtong's angry and regretful expression. He immediately said proudly and arrogantly, "That map is in the secret chamber of the main hall at the entrance of the Holy King's tomb. But you won't have the chance to get it." "Ah." He laughed loudly. "Is that so?" Luo Qingtong's voice sounded at this time. The smile on her lips was faint, and the expression on her face became calm and leisurely. It was as if the annoyance and anger from before were just an illusion. "Thank you for telling me." Luo Qingtong raised her head and looked at the Holy King's soul, whose laughter had abruptly stopped. "In order to express my gratitude, I will personally send you on your way." As she spoke, she put away the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul guiding wood. It was almost full. There was simply too much soul force at the Saint King realm, so the 1,000-year soul guiding tree heart simply couldn't absorb it all. Even if this Saint King's soul did not allow Luo Qingtong to release him, Luo Qingtong would release his seal and use the life and death yin-yang sword to kill him. Who would have thought that the other party would reveal the secret of the fallen immortal land? Luo Qingtong originally thought that if the other party was really loyal to her, she would let him go. She didn't expect that the other party would still be scheming against her even at the brink of death. Since that was the case, then don't blame her for being ruthless. If it weren't for finding out the location of the map, she would have already killed the other party the moment he was arrogant. Are you ready to die? Luo Qingtong also returned this sentence to the Holy King's soul. She raised her hand and summoned the life and death yin-yang sword in her body. The power of the death blade appeared. In an instant, the black light almost cut through the sky. The Holy King's soul looked at the death blade in Luo Qingtong's hand in horror, and his whole body instinctively trembled in fear. The life and death yin-yang sword, the light of the death blade, the power of death. Chapter 1498. The other party actually had such a supreme divine artifact in her hands. The heart of the Holy King's soul instantly turned cold from head to toe. The heart of the 1,000-year-old soul guiding wood, a growing soul-devouring beast. He still had a trace of confidence to fight against the other party. But this was a black longsword. Just by looking at it, he already felt a chill from the bottom of his heart. That was an innate fear, the fear of a natural enemy. There was no way to resist at all. No. This Holy King's soul could kill any powerhouse below the Saint Realm with a raise of his hand. At this moment, in front of Luo Qingtong's life and death dual swords, he turned around desperately and wanted to escape. There was no longer the slightest bit of pride and arrogance from before. He screamed and tried to escape. However, the moment he turned around, Luo Qingtong had already waved the death blade in her hand. In an instant, a sharp light swept through the sky and shattered heaven and earth. Ah! The Holy King's soul screamed sharply. In an instant, under the attack of the death blade, it was shattered into ashes. His figure twisted and disappeared. Countless forces turned into the power of the soul and dissipated. Bang! Just as the Holy King's soul dissipated, the bronze door was also suddenly knocked open at this moment. Yi Jiao, I want you to die. Following a fierce roar that shook the sky, the Hua family head appeared in front of Luo Qingtong in a sorry state. His clothes were almost torn into shreds from top to bottom and hung messily on his body. His hair was disheveled as if he had just run out of a beggar's nest. His entire body was covered in wounds. The Hua family head was full of hostility. He looked at Luo Qingtong, who was standing in the middle of the room in front of him. Without even looking at the situation around him, he directly roared and pounced towards Luo Qingtong. Bang! Luo Qingtong waved the life and death dual swords in her hand. She had just swung her sword to kill the Holy King's soul. For the time being, she did not have time to change her move. She directly followed the tail of the move and directly raised her hand. Swoosh! A black sharp blade flew out from the death blade in her hand and swept towards the Hua family patriarch in front of her. Bang! The Hua clan head raised his palm and their auras collided. In an instant, his attack was shattered by the power of the black death blade. What? The Hua family head looked at this scene in shock. He looked at his palm in disbelief, then looked at Luo Qingtong in front of him. Even if he had only used half of his strength, his opponent shouldn't have been able to block it so easily. After all, the other party just now, you've reached the peak of martial spirit. The head of the Hua clan was just thinking that Luo Qingtong was only a Wu Zong when he suddenly realized that there was something wrong with the young man's aura. His opponent was already in the martial spirit realm. Moreover, his strength and aura were extremely dense and solid. It was as if in this short period of time, the young man had already completed the comprehension of the martial ancestor realm to the martial spirit realm. Furthermore, he had accumulated enough strength and without any hindrance, he had advanced. How was this possible? Patriarch Hua's expression was extremely ugly. His eyes bulged and he didn't dare to believe his eyes at all. He raised his hand and pointed at Luo Qingtong. Then he glanced around and saw the furnishings of the room clearly. The purple gold giant coffin had already disappeared under the explosion of the Holy King's soul. However, the gorgeous decorations around were still there. The Hua family head only took a glance and knew that this place was extraordinary. Chapter 1499. Ha ha ha. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a ferocious expression. No wonder your strength soared so quickly. It turns out that you encountered the opportunity in the Saint King's tomb. But now your opportunity belongs to me. As he spoke, his eyes greedily looked at the life and death sword in Luo Qingtong's hand. He didn't pay close attention before. Now he realized that the long sword in Luo Qingtong's hand was really a rare treasure. The sword that Luo Qingtong wielded just now was close to the power of the Saint Realm. Obviously it was this long sword's credit. Good. Ha ha ha. Patriarch Hua laughed loudly. Finally, I didn't chase after you for so long in vain. Yijiao. Your life and this opportunity you obtained, give it all to me. The strength that was absorbed by Luo Qingtong was one thing. But this long sword, he wanted it. Luo Qingtong chuckled as she looked at the greedy Patriarch Hua opposite her. You want what's mine? Wasn't the previous lesson enough? Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. She no longer hid her lazy and evil aura. She raised her eyebrows slightly and looked coldly at Patriarch Hua opposite her. I wonder how many people from your Hua family will be able to return alive this time? You. Patriarch Hua instantly exploded when he heard Luo Qingtong's words. Everyone from the Hua family was left in the passage that Luo Qingtong chose for them. Even if they didn't know what was in the passage, judging from the Ouyang family's desperate escape, the passage was extremely dangerous. Only a few people from the Hua family would be able to come out alive. Luo Qingtong's words instantly angered Patriarch Hua. He looked at Luo Qingtong with bloodshot eyes. Bastard. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to skin you alive. I'm going to sacrifice the souls of our Hua family's people who died in vain. Patriarch Hua thought so. In an instant, like a vulture, he flew towards Luo Qingtong. So what if she had reached the peak of the martial spirit realm? Before reaching the saint realm, everything was an ant. What's more, he was in a hurry just now and didn't even use half of his strength. This time he would definitely not give her any chance to take advantage of him. With that thought in mind, the Hua family's patriarch suddenly released all of his aura. As his aura shot out, the surrounding decorations and broken stones all flew up, guided by his aura, and flew towards the bronze door that he had knocked open. He blocked the wide-open door. This time I'll see where you're going. In this room there was only one exit, the bronze door. The Hua family head's expression was ferocious, and his sleeves shook violently. In an instant, countless energy cheese Qingtong. In the air, the spirit energy surged, the wind blew and the clouds surged. All of them attacked Luo Qingtong. Yijiao, I want you dead. Bang, bang, bang. While Patriarch Hua was attacking Luo Qingtong, in another passage, Feng Yuan and the others had almost reached the end of the passage. A large hall appeared in front of everyone. In the corner of the hall, a teleportation array was emitting a milky white light and flashing slightly. Seeing this scene, everyone from the Ouyang family had ugly expressions. Especially Patriarch Ouyang and the others. The people of the Hua family had already died in the trap. Chapter 1500. Those people were all selected by the Ouyang family head and brought to the Saint King's tomb to let them gain experience, show off their skills and obtain some opportunities. They thought that with the map, the protection of these experts and the Saint Dr. Feng Yuan, there should be no problem for those disciples to gain experience. But they didn't expect to fall into Luo Qingtong's trap as soon as they entered. Don't even talk about training, these elite disciples were simply thrown to their deaths by them. That was fine, but they didn't get anything along the way. So many people died and even they were in a sorry state, but they reached the end as soon as they came out. The Ouyang family head didn't go crazy on the spot, and it was already very rational. Saint Doctor, everything was done according to your instructions. What's the situation now? Don't you think you should explain to our Ouyang family? The Ouyang family head was already trying his best to suppress his anger. If it wasn't for Feng Yuan suddenly showing strength that was not weaker than them, he would have taken action long ago. Feng Yuan had caused them too much trouble. The plan that he kept on talking about. In the end, they were schemed against by Yijiao as soon as they entered the Saint King's tomb. Now that they didn't get anything, where did the other party's plan come from? If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have listened to the other party. When they entered the Saint King's tomb, he should have joined forces with the Hua family and killed Yijiao. This way he wouldn't have fallen into her trap. The Ouyang family head was so angry that his face turned black. Feng Yuan's expression was also very ugly. That wisp of green smoke had already returned to her body. Every time she came out she would suffer a great loss. This time was no exception. Before he left, he gave her a good scolding. In addition to this trip to the Saint King's tomb, although she used the Saint King's tomb map to form a plan with the Ouyang family, she was not completely uninterested in the Saint King's tomb. On the contrary, she believed in her own ability. She believed that even if the Ouyang family came together, they would still be able to get the best treasure in the Saint King's tomb. That was why he had generously handed over the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb to the Ouyang clan in exchange for their trust and alliance to achieve his goal. Who would have thought that her confidence would be repeatedly slapped in the face by Luo Qingtong? And now he had almost been schemed against by the other party, and had been crushed into nothingness. If it wasn't for that wisp of green smoke, she would have died in that wrong passageway. Thinking of this, Feng Yuan gnashed his teeth in anger. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Just you wait. This matter is not over yet. Feng Yuan roared angrily in his heart, but his face was unusually cold and gloomy. What's the hurry? She said coldly. They're just one step ahead of us. So what if they took all the treasures in the tomb? No matter how much they took, I will make them spit it all out. At that time, the compensation and benefits that the Ouyang clan deserves will not be lacking. Feng Yuan's eyes were hazy. Her original plan was to deal with Luo Qingtong during the exploration of the Saint King's tomb. After getting all the treasures that she deserved, she would start the plan under the shame and resentment of the other party, and let her die miserably and in despair. Although this plan was not used now, the ending had not changed. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.